In 1879, a missionary named Charles Helm arrived at a mission station in Matabeleland with two rough-coated grey-black dogs riding along with him. A hunter named Cornelius van Rooyen saw those two bitches and decided he wanted their bloodline in his own pack. That single decision is the reason the Rhodesian Ridgeback exists. But the dog those two bitches eventually became was already carrying genetics from somewhere much darker. An extinct Cuban breed built to hunt escaped slaves. This is the Rhodesian Ridgeback. Part African hunting dog, part European Mastiff, and part a breed most people have never heard of, for reasons that become obvious fast. Before any crossbreeding happened, the ridge itself already existed. Dutch and German settlers arriving at the Cape Colony in the 1650s found it on the hunting dogs of the Khoikhoi people, described by Europeans at the time as absolutely fearless as guard dogs. Lean, muscular, standing around 46 centimeters at the shoulder, with the same reverse-growing strip of hair along the spine that defines the breed today. These dogs were bred to work in packs against dangerous game long before any European ever set foot on that coastline. Within roughly 50 years of first contact, settlers were already using these dogs themselves. Here's the part most Ridgeback histories leave out. By the early 1800s, colonists in southern Africa were importing European hunting breeds. Greyhounds, Mastiffs, Great Danes, Bloodhounds. But one of the heaviest genetic contributors to the early Ridgeback wasn't a European sporting dog at all. It was a Cuban breed called the Dogo Cubano, or Cuban Bloodhound. This dog wasn't built for hunting game. It descended from the Bull Mastiff line and was introduced to Cuba specifically to track down runaway slaves. A broad-headed, rust-colored dog exported across the slave-holding world and used by the British in Jamaica, the French in Saint-Domingue, and slaveholders across the American South. When slavery was abolished, the entire reason for keeping the breed disappeared almost overnight, and it was crossbred away until it died out completely. But the genetics didn't vanish with the breed name. That bloodline was heavily folded into the early Rhodesian Ridgeback, and modern genetic sequencing has confirmed the dog's closest surviving relative is exactly this extinct Cuban breed. Meaning every Ridgeback alive today carries a direct genetic line back to a dog built for one of history's ugliest jobs. Genetics have also settled which European import mattered most. The Rhodesian Ridgeback and the Great Dane fall within the same genetic clade, pointing to the Dane as the dominant contributor alongside the Mastiffs, Bloodhounds, and Greyhounds crossed in over the same period. Ancient genome sequencing has even quantified how much of the original African line survived all this outside crossbreeding. The modern Southern African Ridgeback still retains around 4% pre-colonial ancestry, a small but permanent trace of the Khoikhoi dogs at the root of the breed. Everything else, the overwhelming majority of what's under that coat, arrived from somewhere else entirely. The founding moment is more specific than most people realize. Charles Helm, working for the London Missionary Society, brought his two ridged bitches from the Cape to Hope Fountain Mission near what's now Bulawayo in 1879. That same year, he officiated the wedding of Cornelius van Rooyen, a big game hunter, to Maria Vermaak. Van Rooyen saw Helm's dogs, recognized their guarding ability, and began breeding his own hunting pack around them. Van Rooyen would go on to become one of the region's most prolific big game hunters, and the pack he built around Helm's two bitches became the template every Ridgeback breeder since has worked from. The early litters actually came out grayer and rough-coated, not the sleek red wheaten color people picture today. It took repeated crossing with the ridged boar dogs already in Van Rooyen's stock to shift the coat toward that redder tone. Over the next 35 years, his kennel refined the dogs specifically for baying, darting in and out around a lion with quick snaps, holding its attention without directly attacking until a hunter could take the shot. It was dangerous, precise work, and Van Rooyen bred deliberately for the dogs that judged the distance correctly. The same dogs doubled as farm workers, clearing land of wild boar and baboons. And unlike with lions, a Ridgeback could take down a baboon entirely on its own, no hunter needed. For over 40 years, the dog stayed an unregulated working type. That changed in 1922, when a breeder named Francis R. Barnes founded the first Rhodesian Ridgeback Club at a Bulawayo Kennel Club show and drafted the breed's original standard, based heavily on the Dalmatian's proportions, with the ridge grafted on as the one defining trait. The South African Kennel Union approved it in 1927, and the breed reached Britain by 1928 and full American Kennel Club recognition by 1955. From there, it spread well beyond southern Africa, into homes with no lions, no baboons, and no farmland to clear, a working dog's blueprint repurposed for companionship. The blueprint Barnes wrote down in 1922 has remained essentially unchanged for over a century. That same ridge, incidentally, comes from a gene duplication that also raises the risk of a spinal defect called dermoid sinus. A reminder that the trait defining the breed's identity and one of its known health risks share a single genetic root. Physically, the modern Ridgeback still carries every mark of its working ancestry. Males stand around 66 to 74 centimeters at the withers and weigh close to 45 kilograms. Females run smaller, at roughly 61 to 66 centimeters and around 38 kilograms. It's a large, muscular dog built for covering distance in African heat rather than raw bulk, with a short, dense, glossy coat in wheaten to red wheaten tones. Temperament follows the same working logic. Ridgebacks are loyal, intelligent, and notably aloof with strangers, without tipping into aggression. A dog that won't act out without real reason, but won't fully warm to correction from anyone it doesn't already trust. Barnes himself noted in that original 1922 standard that rough handling should never be used on these dogs, especially young ones, since they respond badly to it. That single line in the standard says something about what the breed actually needed from a handler, even in its working years. Not dominance, but earned trust. The story people usually tell about the Rhodesian Ridgeback stops at the dog that hunted lions, as if that's the impressive part. The more complicated story is everything folded into the dog before it ever got near a lion. A Khoikhoi hunting line predating colonization, a missionary's two grey bitches that happened to cross paths with a hunter at his own wedding, a Great Dane contribution confirmed by modern genetics, and a Cuban breed built to hunt escaped human beings, all fused together and then frozen into a fixed standard by one meeting in 1922. The ridge on this dog's back isn't just a curiosity. It's a physical record of exactly how complicated that history is, and how little of it survives in the folklore people repeat about it now. Before I go, I'd just like to give a massive thanks to Rhodesian Italia and Ridgeback Asher for their amazing clips, and I've linked their Instagram links below. Make sure to check them out. See you in the next one.